It's a pretty well-known trope that at the beginning of the year, when we set goals, those goals get abandoned within the first couple of weeks for a variety of excuses. Oh, I don't have enough time anymore. It's hard. It's boring. And I'm never going to get it anyway. Now, it's not just at the beginning of the year. All year round, we still have the same failure rate of like 90%. Most of us, we set goals, dreams that we want to achieve for ourselves, but then we walk away from them in a very short time. So today, I'm going to address why we seem to hit a wall with our goals and what you could do to realize the key to setting goals and achieving them easily. Check this out. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, showing you that you can have, do, and be whatever you choose. That your mind is a creative instrument, and when you get all the negative feelings and thoughts out of the way, your mind is a perfect tool that you can use to create a masterpiece in every single area of your life. Now, this is something that is provable. If you're new here, you see, we don't just talk about this stuff. What we do here is different. We show you in very simple and easy steps how you can quiet that mind and start demonstrating what you really want in your life. So if you're new here, hit subscribe. You're really going to like what you find here. Now, for those of you who are familiar with this work and you're familiar with Lester Levinson, the realized master, who started this simple process of letting go and mastering your life, you've probably heard some talks that Lester have made. In particular, there's a very good talk and a very popular one where he talks about goals and achieving goals. And in that talk, he was conversing with one of the releasing graduates at that time, a guy by the name of Michael, who achieved a lot using his goal charts. And Lester said, "Hey, Michael, you set goals. You set a goal to be in a Broadway show, and you got it. You set a goal to be in a major Hollywood film, and you got it. You set a goal to be a multimillionaire. You got it. You set a goal to have a house in the Hamptons, and you got it. You set a goal to have a wonderful relationship, and you married a supermodel. But you stopped. I invited you to keep going and keep moving up and join me on the free side. But you didn't want to. You just stopped. Why?" And Michael started to say something, but Lester really didn't let him explain too far. He said, "Look, pride got in the way, and resistance got in the way." You said, "No, screw it. I don't want to go free. I want to hold on to this stuff." But that got him to stop setting goals, and it basically got him stuck on the path. Now, I've had similar conversations with graduates over the years and asking people, do you still work on your goal charts? Alarmingly, like 95% of people say, no, I haven't been doing goal charts in a long time. Why? Well, I wasn't getting my goal and I got frustrated and I stopped. Or I just got busy with other stuff and I forgot about it. Now, one excuse that I've heard in particular is, oh, goals are just so ego-driven and they're all about pushing yourself and achieving stuff. That's not spiritual. I'm doing something more spiritual now. I'm just sitting back and letting things be. But these same people They're not in a state of beingness where they can have whatever they want. They're still struggling to make a living. And basically, what they're telling me is that they got into apathy about the goal. Oh, I can't get it. Why bother? But I don't want to confront that fact. So I'm going to make this fancy excuse that sounds very spiritual and use that as a reason not to do goals. And that's the most ridiculous excuse ever, because goal charts are one of the most powerful spiritual practices that you can do. You see, it's coming from the position that each and every one of us is a master. Each and every one of us is a free, unlimited being. But that freedom and that unlimitedness, it's covered up by concepts of limitation. And when we work on goal charts, what it does is it gets us to bring up these thoughts of limitation, some of them which were subconscious, but we use the goal charts to make them conscious and go, okay, that's what I'm thinking. And with the process of releasing, what it is that you let go of are all those thoughts that run in your head that says, oh, I can't. I'm not good enough. It's too hard. I'm never going to do it. It's too risky. It's not going to be worth it anyway. I don't deserve it. And on and on and on. Maybe some of those thoughts are familiar to you. Just taking a guess. We all have these thoughts. And guess what? These thoughts are just sounds that play in our head. And we can release these sounds. So, the purpose of doing goal charts, isn't even to get the goal. It's to quiet that mind of all that negative thinking, all that nagging that goes on, all that sense of putting ourselves down. Oh, I'm just not good enough. I'm not ready yet. Maybe sometime in the future, but not now. And just imagine if you quieted all that noise that plays in your head. When you think about achieving something big, right? Like purchasing a big house or becoming a multimillionaire. What comes up? Oh, that's impossible. That'll never happen. Now, what would happen if you set your sights on a goal like that, a big goal, but none of this noise came up in your mind? You're just perfectly quiet, perfectly still in the moment, in beingness. What difference would that make? At the very least, it wouldn't get you to sabotage yourself or make decisions based on some negative garbage that your mind is telling you. You're going to make better decisions, and you're going to see things more clearly, and that goal is going to seem much more attainable to you, right? Now, as we all end up proving out when we really do goal charts and we stick with them, is that by eliminating that noise, we discover how powerful we have always been. And that goal, to have it, it's just a decision. When all is said and done, I decide to be a multimillionaire. I decide to have that house. So be it. And it's that easy. And this is a different process than, say, the law of attraction, which basically talks about the same thing. The mind is a creative instrument, and you are connected with all the power of the universe. It sounds nice, but number one, they don't really show you how to do it. And number two, they kind of have it backwards. Because to most people in the law of attraction that teach this stuff, they're into, well, just picture the right thing. Sure, you got a bunch of negative thoughts and feelings, but just superimpose this positive picture on that. In fact, to help you hold in mind a positive picture, you should do a vision board. Stick it on your refrigerator so you look at it every day and psych yourself up and remind yourself. And if you look at it like 6 times a day and 3 times in the evening and another 2 times in the next morning, you do this every day, there's some sort of magical thing that's going to happen and that goal is going to manifest. And that's a bunch of nonsense. Actually, I mean, it is kind of on the right track, but basically what they're saying, it's akin to putting a Band-Aid on cancer. You see, we have a cancer of negative thoughts. You know, the I can'ts. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve it. It's too hard. I don't want to do that. And those thoughts remain, but we try to slap another positive thought onto it. But if those thoughts have been running for years and years and years, and not only do they have a length of time behind them, but they have a whole bunch of friends, other thoughts that are just as negative, they got a lot more power than that other positive thought that you're trying to slap on top. You see? It makes perfect sense. Now, Lester's way, it's the opposite of that. And it comes from a completely different premise. So you see, the way most people look at the law of attraction, it's about adding positive stuff, right? You need to add more positivity to you. You need to add more positive energy into you. Nonsense. You are already positive, unlimited, inside. Nothing needs to be added. No knowledge needs to be added. Nothing whatsoever. All you have to do is just remove the negativity, and what's already there that's already positive shows up, and you recognize, oh, this is how powerful I am, and I always have been. Now I decide to have this goal. It's as simple as that. And this brings us to the real purpose of goals, which is simply to quiet that mind. In other words, especially for those that are familiar with Lester's method, the purpose of goals, number one, and above everything else, even the object of that goal itself, it's to be imperturbable. And this is where we get stuck and we give up, because when that goal itself is more important than the imperturbability, especially if it's a really big outlandish goal, like, oh my God, that'd be so wonderful if I had that. If I was a multimillionaire, I wouldn't have to work for a living anymore. I wouldn't have to worry about the economy and rising gas prices. I could just sit back, go on vacation all year round, travel the world, have this wonderful lifestyle that I see people pretending to have on Instagram, but I can do it in real life. I want that. And we want that more than imperturbability. And here's the thing. When that happens, when the object of that goal is the thing that is most important, then when we sit down to work on it, it becomes work. Because we're always looking to, gotta have it, gotta have it. Whereas, if we focus on the imperturbability aspect of it, what am I doing this for? What are the mechanics of this whole process anyway? Like I just described before, it's to eliminate the negative thoughts and feelings. And what happens when we do that? What happens when we decide, I want imperturbability more than anything else? We release. And what happens every time we release? We get lighter. We get freer. We get happier. And when we focus on that, it puts a whole different perspective on what we're doing with our goal charts. So instead of chasing after this dragon, I gotta catch that thing, it's a constant process of reaffirming, hey, I'm doing the right thing. I'm going in the right direction. And every time I sit down to my goal chart, I get happier, I get lighter, I get clearer. And sometimes, even if I set a big goal, and maybe there's a lot of, I can'ts that are buried in there that I still haven't recognized yet, but they will come up. I just have to keep digging at them. On the way of digging them up, I'm undoing the garbage. So maybe that big, wonderful goal hasn't happened yet, but I could look around in my life and I could see, whoa, actually other things are improving here. Things that I'm not even working on directly. My relationships are getting easier. I'm feeling more confident each and every day. I have more energy. I'm happier. My body has energy. It's healthy. Wow, how'd that happen? You see, as far as releasing goes, how you do anything is how you do everything. When you release, even on one particular object, that goal, it ends up improving everything in your life. And you're open to recognizing it. When you're doing it for the goodness of doing the work. When you're doing it for imperturbability. So let's get in touch with this aspect of the process. The aspect of getting lighter, getting happier, and recognizing the goodness of that. Because as long as we're getting happier and lighter, what's wrong with that? And if we can get happier and lighter every day, then that makes goals. It's not work anymore. It's something that, oh, good. I can lift myself up even higher today. I'm up for that, right? It's a whole different perspective. And it's something that when you do it, when you really do it for the imperturbability of it, you see that result immediately. So you know it. You don't have to wait for the results. You get that feedback right away, that clarity, that sense of I can. And you see things showing up in your life already every single day. All right, so let's do it. Now, whether you're familiar with this whole process or not, what we're going to do here is just very simple, very direct. You can follow along. If you are familiar with goal charts, right, think about that. Think about doing a goal chart. Or if you're not familiar, you don't really know what I'm talking about, all you have to do is just think about taking action to get a goal that you want to achieve. All right, so just think about working towards this goal, either by a goal chart or taking action. And notice the thoughts that start coming up into your mind. Right? See, this is how the whole process works. You start focusing on something, a thought, a picture in your head, and then it stimulates stuff that you probably weren't aware of. Right? Sounds that play in your head consciously and subconsciously. And you might notice that those thoughts aren't so supportive. Oh, it's going to be a lot of work. Oh, I don't like that. In fact, you might also notice a feeling of resistance. And what you can do is when you think about working on goals, you see all the thoughts, they come up in your mind. But if you just get out of your mind for a moment and shift your focus to your stomach, your chest area, this is like your feeling center here, you might notice like a clenching, tight feeling, like a contraction even. And that's like a physical feeling of resistance, like, ugh, I don't want to do that. It's too much effort. I don't have time. I'm not going to get it anyway. Just notice if you feel that tightness or that feeling of resistance that goes along with those negative thoughts. Notice that? Now really focus in on where you feel that, because it really shows up in your stomach or chest, and wherever that is. Basically, what that is you pushing down on your feelings. Because let's face it, we don't like these negative thoughts and the feelings that come along with them. The feelings like I'm not good enough or I don't deserve it. You're like, oh, get out of here. I don't like how you feel. And what happens? We try to push those feelings down. But when we push them down, they don't go anywhere. We're actually holding on to them and collecting them. And it's us pushing down on the feelings. That's where we feel this tightness. Now, it's very easy to let this go. Wherever you feel that right now, right? Just focus in on it. In fact, I recommend closing your eyes and even putting your head down towards your stomach or chest so you could really pay attention to that feeling. Be with it. Now, open up an imaginary window or door right in front of that. And just see that contraction as energy. And imagine that energy just going right on out that door. It's just energy leaving out the door. Now watch that energy leave. And some more. And more. And more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And just see it as energy. You don't have to place any value on it. You have to figure out why it's there, what it means. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just energy passing through. Open up that door. Allow that energy to pass through even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And more. All right? Now notice how you feel. Notice, do you feel a little bit lighter? And it feels pretty nice. Right? And what's wrong with that? Now, notice if you've had some mental resistance to that goal. Maybe it's a goal that you've worked on before and you just got frustrated, fed up. Oh, I've been working on this and it hasn't happened. And If you can measure that resistance on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the most resistant and 0 being the least resistant, where is that? Where's that resistance? All right, whatever number that is. Maybe it's small. Maybe it's like a 2. Or maybe it's a 10. But whatever that number is, notice you've been saying no to that resistance. Just like you've been saying no to the feelings, right? And pushing them down. And when you say no to that resistance, does that make the resistance go away? No. In fact, it gets stronger, doesn't it? So if saying no doesn't work, then let's do the opposite of that. Look at that resistance now, whatever number that is. Then just say yes to that resistance. Nice and simple. Just 3 little letters, Y-E-S. Just look and say yes to it. And say yes to that resistance a little bit more. And say yes to it a little bit more. And say yes to it even more. And say yes to it even more. And just say yes to it some more. And some more. And some more. And even more. Now, measure yourself again. See if that number moved. Did that number drop? So notice how simple that is. If you say no to the resistance, it gets stronger. If you say yes to it, it leaves. Now, wherever that number is, maybe it's at 0, but maybe there's still like a 1 or 2 or a 7 or whatever. You let go of some, that number dropped. Now let go of pushing down on the rest of the resistance because you got momentum now. Welcome it up, just like that energy, and just open up a big imaginary door and just imagine that resistance now going out that door. And let that resistance go even more. It's just energy. It's just a sensation, a phenomena. Just watch it leave, nice and easy, out that door. And more. And a little bit more. Now, what are you experiencing right now? Do you feel lighter? And now when you take a look at not just working on the goal, but when you take a look at the goal itself, is it more achievable than it was a few moments ago? Notice the difference? More of a sense of, well, maybe I don't know how, but my sense is I can have it. And see, what you're listening to right now, where that's coming from, that's not from your mind. That's something else talking to you. That's the real power that you already have inside of you talking to you. Or in other words, that's beingness talking to you. And that's the real you, the unlimited you. And just by releasing, just for a few moments like we did right here, you're shifting from listening to that mind, having that mind talk to you, which is a very negative thing, isn't it? How often does it tell you something nice? Rather, it's always complaining. It's always worried. It's always judgmental. Versus beingness, which just tells you you are. And you can. Just like that. Which would you rather listen to? So, you see how this puts a whole different perspective on doing goal charts. Instead of having to drive for that object, you're doing it for the goodness of letting go. And look at it in this terms. If you don't do goal charts, what are you doing instead? You're resisting. And you're listening to those thoughts that tell you to give up, or that tell you to procrastinate, or that sabotage you and just get you to forget working on your goals. And then suddenly like a week goes by and you realize, oh yeah, well, I had that goal, but oh, well, it's history now. If you don't do something about that, then that's what you get to walk around with in life, and it just builds and builds and builds. You want to live like that? Or would you rather go the route of imperturbability? You see, after we did the releasing and I asked you, is it more possible to have that goal? Take a look at it now. Do you have a kind of different picture and a relationship with it? It's freer, it's easier, more of a sense of I can, right? That shows you that already you started to quiet that negativity that would just pop up saying, oh, I don't want to do that. You got bigger than it. And you realize, I don't have to listen to that mind. And see, if you do this every single day, and you get quieter and quieter every day, you get freer and freer every day, how worth it is it to you to work on goals? Of course you're going to work on them. And they're going to be easy. And they're going to be enjoyable. And you're going to get that goal. Trust me. So, here's what I suggest. I want to give you some homework. For those of you who are familiar with goals, pick up a goal chart. Start working on it and let me know how that works out for you with this different perspective, what you experience, right? If you have an easier time sticking with them and you feel like you're actually getting somewhere with them, and whatever gains that you can recognize that show up. Let me know in the comments below how that works out for you. And if you want a big jump start, or if you want to learn how to do this in the first place, I invite you to a new 6-week course I'm hosting in July called the Wealth Manifestation Course. And over the 6 weeks, we're going to be working specifically on goals, and mostly on financial, money goals, because that seems to be a stuck place for a lot of us, where we're blocked from a lot of freedom, feeling it inside and experiencing it in our life. So we're going to get that block out of the way, get you that financial freedom so that you can live an easier life, and you can then set your sights to greater and greater imperturbability and go beyond even where Michael was at, as much as he achieved but stopped, will get you to go all the way to where you can join Lester and be in that place where life is just a fun game that's full of joy and abundance. So if you want your life to look like that, I'll put a link to the Wealth Manifestation course up above, also in the comments below. Check it out and join us. And prove to yourself that you have that power right now, and seeing that power can be done quickly. All right? And again, for those of you who want to pick up a goal chart, let me know how it's working out for you. And if you have any questions about it, let me know in the comments below. I'll keep an eye out and I'll answer your questions. All right? So, happy releasing, and I'll see you soon.